G'day guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to turn your raw photos into that vintage film look. Films like Fuji 400 and the Kodak Porta 400 and that kind of classic, unique, soft film style that it just feels nice. So things in this video we're going to look at are the exposure and the contrast, the color tone and the overall white balance, how to sharpen and add grain and the vignette to really give it that film look, to take it from the digital images that the camera captures, cameras just like this one, and add a bit of feeling to it. Now, it's a pretty simple process. There's a few little bits and pieces that we will go through in the 3 images that I've selected to edit and show you the process on these. And I selected those 3 to give you a different range of images. So it's not a plug and play kind of thing. You will get presets, and you can find presets all over the internet for this kind of thing. But if you're wanting to learn how to do it manually and really get involved in creating that magic that would otherwise be captured on film, then follow along. So the 3 images that I've chosen are one that's very green, so we're going to show how to adjust all the greens so that they look much more like the film. The next one is a slightly underexposed photo of my buddy Pete. He's probably not going to like me posting this photo of him, but he can deal with it. And the third is a very orange photo taken at Lake O'Hara. It's one of my favorite places in the world. Now I'm going to show you how I would process all 3 of these images, and let's just start with the green. I'm also going to leave up the before and after so you can see basically what we started with as to where we're moving. Alright, let's dive in. So for this first one, I'm just going to bump that exposure up a little bit and bring the contrast down a little bit. We're just going to kind of do a global edit at the moment. Bring the shadows up a little bit. Now you'll notice the weird kind of greens coming out in that. We'll adjust that shortly. Clarity, texture down a little bit because film is generally softer than digital. It's just how it is. I put the vibrance up just a little bit, and we'll come back and tweak those a little bit later. I'm going to put the highlights up a little bit and the lights down. I'm going to kind of like flatten out this contrast. Darks up, shadows down, but I just want just the bottom, just the real deep shadows. Really crank those down. Next up, we have hue and saturation. The greens are typically more vibrant and more yellow in digital shots, so I'm going to go the other way and take the greens to more that aqua kind of color. I'm going to bring the aqua over to the greens a little bit, and then we're going to go reduce the saturation of both of those and the luminance of both of those as well. Now, right now the whole image is looking really blue, but we'll get to that. I'm also going to bring the yellows and the oranges up. The whole image right now looks really blue, so I'm going to go right back up the top to the temperature, and I'm going to warm that up. And you watch that bring the colors to kind of where I want them to be. The magenta's up a little bit more as well. Now we're starting to get that more realistic look from the greens. Might also bring the dehaze up just to add a little bit of a kick to it. Right, now we're starting to get there. So from here the image looks much more natural and soft, and it's got that creamy kind of film look to it. We're going to tweak it a little bit further, and I'm going to go, where are we? Let's go down to the sharpening. I'm going to sharpen it right up, however I'm going to mask off most of it. So I'm holding Option, and that will allow me to see what I'm actually sharpening. I want to get rid of pretty much everything, so it's sharp, but it's soft. That makes sense. Now, further down we've got grain. I'm going to crank the grain up to probably about 30, size down a little bit, and keep the roughness about 50. And you can't really see that from here, but like if you look right in, it just adds a bit of texture to the wood. So I can go back. Now, in terms of a global edit, I'm kind of happy where that is in terms of the colors, the contrast, and the overall feel of it. Now, it does tend to, the highlights tend to be blown out, yet somehow soft. So I'm going to hit K, and this highlighted area up the top here, I'm just going to slightly brighten, but also kind of knock off the clarity there a little bit. Just kind of tweak around until I find what I'm actually looking for. So I like the idea, like I like the mountains in the top, but it detracts from the actual focus, the actual subject, which is the trees and the cabin. So I'm going to kind of brush that off a little bit, and then I'm going to hit K and bring up a second brush. I'm just going to add a bit of a vignette. Just a really soft global vignette around the dark areas on the side here. So bits that would have stayed dark, but because we brought the shadows up, it brought all the shadows up. However, I want this section to be darker to really kind of draw you in to the actual subject of the image. It's looking pretty good there. I might just bring the darks down just a touch. Alright, I'm kind of pretty happy with that image. It's just a quick edit. You could keep going and really dive deep and add different light flares and different bits and pieces. But for a global edit to make it look like film, I'm happy with that, where that is. Let's move on to the next one. I've got Pete here first. First up, I'm just going to crop that in. I'm going to hit R and crop that down. So I just want him right there. So with this one, I've kind of underexposed the bottom bit here. So I'm going to bring the blacks up and the shadows right up. Highlights down, but we're going to tweak this sky a little bit later. I'm going to bring exposure right up and the contrast right down. So we've got that soft buttery look from film. Clarity, texture, kind of like a nice even curve down. Now from here, I'm going to bring the shadows down. I want just a little bit of detail in the shadows down here. Darks can go up, the light's actually down a little bit, and then the highlights. Oh, sorry, I forgot to do the side by side. So if you want to do side by side as well, just hit Y and it'll come back and forth. Quick little shortcut. So I've kind of got that creamy look already on this image, whereas that one's very heavy contrast, and the blue sky is typically digital. So what I'm going to do here is going to hit M. I'm just going to put pretty even gradient over the top. I'm just going to brighten this sky up a touch, just to kind of remove focus from it. Alright, let's dive down in. Again, saturation with the blues. I'm going to bring those down a little bit. So I just want them to be subtle, whereas the oranges and the yellows, the kind of warmth from those film photos, I want to really bring that out. Let's go down and sharpen as well. I'm going to mask right up, hold option, mask off pretty much everything. Going to go back down to the grain, same again, add probably 30 to 40 grain, just to give it a bit of texture. You can see on his face here, adds a little bit of texture, takes away that digital look. Hit Z, bring it back to full screen. And from this one, I'm just going to do a pretty standard cropping vignette to the point where it doesn't look fake. Yeah, just like that. It kind of looks like it's shot on the Portra 400. It's very soft, yet has that creamy look to it. Right, last image. One of my favorite spots in the world. Open Plateau, Lake O'Hara. If you can get there, just please go. It's magical. Anyway, enough of that. So with this one, again, I'm going to drop the contrast down, highlights down as well, shadows right up. I'm going to try and get rid of all of the sharpness here, and it kind of detracts from the rest of the image. With that, simply a bit of texture down, clarity down, and it's already pretty much gone. Image looks a lot creamier. Now, down to the tone curve, going to really bring those shadows down. The greens kind of look a bit too digital right now, but we will get to that shortly. Bring the darks up a little bit, lights down a little bit, and the highlights up just a touch, just to really make those colors pop. So in this one, it is very yellow, so I'm going to take those yellows in the HSL slider. I'm going to adjust the hue to make those yellows a bit more orange. I'm also going to take the greens away from the yellow and more to the aqua, and then we're going to go to the saturation of the greens and drop those down. Luminance as well, darken them up. So now they look a little bit more realistic when it comes to editing for film. Again, sharpen, quite a lot, mask off almost everything. We're going to go all the way down, crank the grain up, give it that look. Not too much so that you can see it. It just wants to add a little bit of texture, a little bit of, I don't know how to describe it. I just keep doing this with my hand. It's a bit weird. Right, size a little bit. Where I think this image will really look like film is with the vignette. So I'm going to bring that in a fair amount. It kind of adds a bit of a frame. Like I'm using the existing frame that I shot with anyway, and that vignette kind of like really draws the viewer in. Like, wow, look at those mountains. I might even hit K and just brush in a little bit of a global on that lake. Maybe make the contrast up a little bit. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So I've got 3 different images. You can see we've taken them from that really sharp, crisp digital file and made them look like soft, creamy, dreamy. Well guys, hopefully you took something from that. I really hope you enjoyed watching that video. If there's something else that you would like to learn or a question about something I did in this editing tutorial, I'd love to hear about it. Drop me a comment below. I try to respond to everything. But yeah, thanks for watching along. Really appreciate it, and I will see you guys next week in either an adventure vlog or another editing tutorial. Right, I'll see you guys next week. Peace out.